Raiders.
And once again, we're live on a Friday. It's your lunchtime. Hope you guys are up there. If you're at work and you're on your lunch break, break out that peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Make sure you get the straw in the little hole of your Capri Sun. Make sure you eat your apple that your wife packed for you in your bag or your mom, depending. Sit back, relax, enjoy this little break, and hopefully uh, we can enjoy it together. This is Pride and Poise. I'm your host, JD Raiders First Downs, and today we're not going to do a mock draft. All right, we're not chasing rankings. We're not listening to analysts who don't wear silver and black. Today, we're building the Raider you want. Because somewhere along the line, the people forgot that this team is supposed to be not flashy. We're not doing this for clicks, not safe for approval, not built for almost a win. This is supposed to be a team that hits you in the mouth, controls the game, and makes opponents hate playing them. So today, Raider Nation, you're the GM. You call in or chat. I put call in. I want you to build your quarterback, your weapon, your defensive dog. I'm going to tell you straight, no sugarcoating. Does your Raider actually win football games? Or are we just building another team that looks good on paper? This is, so. But if you have that, this is your show, man. There's no excuses, no filters. Let's build something that we can actually look at like the Raiders want, what like we want as Raider fans, and do it the right way. But before we do that, got a little something for you.
They tried to measure us by time, by place, by what already passed. But the Raiders were never history. They were built for what comes next. A man once said, "The greatness of the Raiders is in its future." The shield was forged in commitment to excellence. No shortcuts, no explanations, only standards. Silver. Black. Forever. Just win, baby.
And that's what it is. Just win, baby. Before we get there, we got to have pride and poise. Pride is earned, poise is proven. And the Raiders are about to show us exactly who they are. So, for those of you out there on your lunch, Dunkin's Donuts in the house, Michael Guerrero, thank you so much. No, I'm not running for office in 2028. Donuts, you said you hear an echo. It might just be you. Michael Guerrero is peanut butter and jelly all day long. Nick Tello 9, thanks for coming in. I'm tired of waiting for the draft. Exactly. Let's get it over. And to be quite honest with you, this is probably one of the first years that I haven't done a whole lot of mock drafts. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know why. I think the frustration is that when you start to look at the you start to look at the overall picture of this draft specifically, there's nothing concrete, right? Even at the top of the board, everybody's all over the place. Even the experts, and I would love to be a fly on the wall and put everybody's draft boards up on a thing and see where everybody is at when they do their comparison. And that goes with all the even the blue chip talent that's coming into this draft. It's kind of a weird draft. I'm not gonna lie, and I do agree with a lot of people that this was probably the worst year to have the number one pick in the draft, because it just seems like none of it is. I'll be quite honest with you. We had the number one pick. I don't think the number one pick is as valuable as was last year or what it's going to be next year. That's just it. And as you guys know, I'm not a trade back kind of guy because I think that's more of a philosophy than it is having an educated guess to formulate your opinion. That's just my standard. Uh, to me, it's like you got to look at the totality of where you're at and what you're doing. And so today, what I want to do is I want to put a pause on mock drafts. A lot of guys they go onto their shows and they do a mock draft. They put it up on the screen. They let the chat, hey, chat, tell us who you want to draft, and everybody's all over the board. And before you know it, you got this crazy mock draft going on, you know, and a lot of it is just so fantasy that sometimes it's just like this ain't even real, you know. One of the things I do a lot like doing with mock drafts, and I've done a lot of this, is just launch it. Don't pick a team that you're going to be picking for. Just like if you're a Raider fan, don't pick the Raiders. I'm not going to pick for the Raiders. I just launch it. Just let the computer do the whole thing, and then pause it after each round and review and kind of give you an idea where people are falling. So when we do go into the draft next Thursday and Friday and Saturday, we kind of have a ballpark figure where people are going to fall. You know, and it's even like once we get out the top 50 to top 60 players in this draft, I start to go, whoa, where are we going with this? Now, I'm going to be honest with you, with my crew or my audience right now. I'm going to be honest with you. Out of everybody that's in the top 20, top 32 of this draft, I maybe specifically know of 11 or 12 that I've watched religiously. Okay. There are a few that are in this draft that are coming out that I haven't watched religiously. Some of those, I'm just going to name the schools that I followed this year because it's just, I started out with Penn State. I dropped them after week 3. I could see that was going to be a train wreck. I started with LSU. I dropped them after week 3. I can tell Garrett Nussmeier was going to be a train wreck. And I had high hopes for that kid coming into this year. I thought if he really ascended, he would have been a number 1 pick. I just, for some reason, my gut, because he just had that football acumen and the way he played the year before just had a lot of good intangibles to it. And I had a lot of hope for him. After that, it was right about week 3, week 4, because I watched, on the West Coast, I watch, Cal football's on 7:00 at night on Saturday. So if you ain't got nothing going on a Saturday night, you're going to be able to watch a Cal football game. Stanford, you're going to be able to watch them. San Jose State, you're going to be able to watch them. Fresno State, they're going to be on channel 58. You're going to catch one of those West Coast games, and you're just going to see people, and you start to pick those people as you're coming through. So in the morning of Saturday, usually 9:00 in the morning is on West Coast. We usually get to pick up a lot of ACC and Big Ten football or Big 12 football. So that's when you start to watch those games, and you start to watch, like I watched Texas. Was not impressed with Arch Manning at the beginning of the season. As the season went on, I thought, okay, the kid's getting better. Unfortunately, it's taken this long to start to get his progression going or his ascension going. I wholeheartedly think they should have started him last year. If they were in the need, if Texas was looking to the future to create a national powerhouse, they should have started Arch Manning his sophomore year, let him take his lumps, come into his junior year, start to put together good game plans, good tape, things that really make him successful. Okay. More so than just the run game. Okay. So it's just those things. And then I really like Anthony Hill in Texas. I'm not going to lie. Watching that guy play live, that was a lot of fun. So if you guys get a chance, go back, look at some Texas games, just watch the games, turn the commentators off and just watch the games on YouTube. You'll see Anthony Hill pops. He's pretty good. I would like to get my hands on him. Unfortunately, we already got Nakobe Dean and Walker. So kind of like that. Would it be a waste of a pick? I don't think so, but it's like, where are you going to fit him in? because he's more towards the middle of the field. He can play some inside the box, but more towards the edge. He's not going to be like an elite pass rusher, but man, his speed and his athleticism and his downhill contact and how he tackles is pretty darn good. Watched from Oklahoma, only because the Mateer thing popped up on the radar, and I start watching him, and I was like, not really sold on that kid. And probably a good thing he's going back. But R. Mason I like watching him. For some reason, man, people would throw a flat route or an under route, and he would close and finish. And so I really like him. Watched a lot of Missouri. I know Severe Raider probably gives me a lot of crap. I know on one of his shows, he goes, "What, are you from Missouri?" No, I just watched a lot of them this year, and especially like the Alabama game. I was like, good God, that front seven is just, and their running back that they have is just something special. It was their quarterback that cost them that game. It was their offensive coordinator that cost them that game. They should have beat Alabama. They were the better team. That three-fourths of that game belonged to Missouri's defense. Zion Young, Chris McClellan, Jeremiah Trotter, they were oofing it, man. They were getting after him. And I know Ty Simpson had a decent game that game, but it was the other guys that weren't doing it. And I guess you could say, well, Ty Simpson carried them on his back. Well, okay. Guys, I mean, this ain't the same Alabama, but it's still Alabama. So they're still going to play good football. They're going to bring good football players, and it's going to be nothing's going to be Alabama's not going to be a pushover, right? Period. The end. They might not be the guy anymore in the block or in the neighborhood, but they still got some street cred. So you can't pass up on them. Got some more people coming in. This year's first pick is the most valuable. Mendoza is him. What's going on? Alex, welcome in. Robert Pena, welcome in, my friend. I didn't get a notification. Double check your, sometimes what you have to do is you have to uncheck it and then recheck it. I notice we're getting a lot of that. And I don't know why. I'm going to try and dive into it a little bit more. I know usually about this time I'm running about 15 to 20 people, and we're at 7 right now, which is fine. This is I pick Fridays at lunchtime to maybe just kind of give a little bit of something to those guys that are out there on their lunch break that want to tap in, have a conversation. I might not be the greatest guy on YouTube or the best looking guy on YouTube by any means, but I can be one of the damn funnest ones on YouTube. So I will take that. But I haven't said everything that I've said so far, and what we're trying to accomplish with today's episode is that the Raiders don't draft a quarterback this year. Is the season already lost? Put that in the chat. What do you think? Do you think the season is lost? If we don't select a quarterback this year, is a season lost? My opinion is, and this is my opinion, and I don't think this season is that important because we're building, right? Now, if we have some success, maybe make a playoff push or whatever, we go into November, December, and we're in that playoff conversation, then yeah, I would say that let me see. Season lost, no, but mad, yes. And I'm going to get to that, Alex. And I think that's where I'm going with this right now is that passing on the quarterback right now, because where we're at in the draft, do we foresee ourselves being in the same draft position in the future to where we can resolve the problem that has haunted us for decades? And let me repeat that, has haunted us for decades. For any of you guys that have been Raider fans, have gone to the games, watched it with a bunch of buddies at a bar or whatever, what is the one thing that always comes up? We need a quarterback, right? Even when we had Derek Carr. No offense to Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr did an absolute solid job for us, got us to a point where had we built a better team around him, there could have probably been a little bit different. We could have probably had more successes, because I truly think that Derek Carr had the ability, not so much where he was going to be the focal point, but had the ability to steer the ship right if everything around him was built right. And that includes coaches. You can't just keep flipping coaches on him and offensive coordinators. You just can't do that with these guys. Now, here's a little tidbit nobody realizes is, number one, Fernando's already had some of Derek Carr's coached up in Bill Musgrave. Bill Musgrave was at Cal from 2020 to 2022 and was the quarterback's coach who recruited Fernando to Cal. And Bill Musgrave was Derek Carr's offensive coordinator in 2016. So there's kind of a combination there, right? So there's a little bit of link there. And then you see in 2024, some of the changes that he was able to make really benefited him. And you can see it's like, okay, yeah, I think he could be a pretty dang good college quarterback. Then he makes the change and goes to Indiana and gets coached up, hard. And things changed a little bit. There was more success for him. But in the long run, it's what we envision. So in the chat, if you think if we pass on a quarterback this year, it's going to be the end all be all for this season, it doesn't bother me. Okay. It's what's going to happen in the future. And if we go out and we sign a Kirk Cousins who's 39 years old with a fresh off a torn Achilles tendon 2 years ago, and we think he's going to carry us for 2 or 3 years while we decide whether we're going to get a quarterback or not, then that is not a very good approach to this. And I think that by passing on the quarterback, it's sometimes here's my take on this. Trading back is an easy thing to do, but picking and taking that chance on a guy that you feel is the guy, if you think he is the guy, you go get him. All right. Now, if going into next Thursday, Spytek, Brady, the assistant GM that we got from Denver, all those guys, they sit down, they have their meeting on Wednesday night. They've gone through, they've done mock draft, they've done their test runs over and over, making sure the phones are working, all that. And they sit down, and their final straw is, we think he's good, but we don't think he's going to be good enough for us going forward. It's not me, not anybody else that does Raider content on YouTube. It's them in the room that they feel that we just did not have it down 100% as a group. We got an offer that we could not refuse. And so we took it, because let's face it, if you get an offer that you can't refuse, like a serious offer that you cannot refuse, you are hurting yourself big time by not taking it. Simple as that. Trust, Ricky Williams wasn't that good, but somebody thought he was, right? And they were willing up to give their whole draft to go get him. Didn't work out too well, right? And then there's some people that have traded back to get more picks because they needed more help. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Every team needs help. They got more holes to fill. Every team. All 32 teams need to trade back. I ain't gonna lie. All 32 of them, somewhere along the line on their roster, they need to trade back to get more picks to fill more holes. And having said that, is that the smartest thing to do? Because I myself, if you're constantly trade back, that's more of a philosophy. It's not an educated opinion. So you got to take it upon yourself. You got to you kind of got to do the work yourself. And I'm talking the total work. Okay. Don't just get to a point to satisfy yourself. You got to do the total thing. Okay. And that's kind of what I've done. I still have 5 games on the DVR that I go back and watch, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he sucked that game. He was like, I was like, especially the Purdue game. He was like 5 of 16 or something going into the third quarter at halftime, and then he missed a couple throws. He had a sideline scene with Amari Cooper, and he underthrew it, and it was just like that was just garbage, man. What are you doing? And then okay, he didn't really come out and blow the barn off, but checked into a play, which was a quick dump out to the wide receiver that took it up the sideline for a touchdown. All right. Yeah, it's not wow. It's not, oh, wow. But you know what? There's sometimes where you look at the totality of it is where are they at when the game counts? And that's what makes Patrick Mahomes so special. A lot of people, oh, he's got this crazy arm. No, no. That's when the chips are on the line. He is elite. Never seen it before in my life. A little bit of John Elway, but John Elway did a lot of it with his legs in the early part of his career, where he'd scramble and run for first downs and touchdowns. Like the fumble game against the Browns. A lot of that. I mean, he made some good throws to Slaughter and things like that, but he still was making plays with his feet, which was a difference. Okay. Actually, money check. There are 0 indicators that we're interested in trading a number 1 pick. All the silly waste of time and energy that's put into this has been useless. Okay. Hit your wagon up to me real quick, money check, so everybody else can understand this, and we're going in the same direction. Even the anti-Mendoza and the pro-Mendozas are going to follow me on this. Okay. Are the Raiders shopping that pick? No. I wouldn't. It's not for sale. We're going to pick Mendoza. We've done all the work. We've done all this stuff. We're Mendoza this, Mendoza that. Right? It's not absolute, my friend. And I'll give you a perfect example of what I'm saying. And this is personal. Okay. I have a 1971 Chevy Chevelle that I put a lot of money into, a lot of time, sweat, and over a year and a half worth of hard work, labor, and money to build this car. And it is freaking phenomenal. All right. It's a show queen. It's beautiful. It's got all the bells and whistles that you'd want in but it has that nostalgic look to it. Like I built it like I would have in 1991. All right. If I was the same age in 1991, this is the way I would have built it, and that's the way it is. Car's worth about $58,000. Okay. Roughly, give or take a couple thousand. That's what it's worth. Okay. I had a guy come up to me with $75,000 cash to buy that car. That close to selling. And this car means a lot to me. Okay. It means a lot to me. But it was that close. There was a part of me that went, oh, that's $75,000 cash. That's more than what I got into it. Then I had a buddy of mine that we grew up together working on cars and stuff, and he helped me a lot on this car. And he said, Jay, he goes, if somebody comes up to you with 80, 90,000, you'd be stupid not to take it, even though that car means that much to you. So how do I correlate that? This draft pick might mean a lot to us as Raider fans. Okay, this draft pick might mean that much to the Raiders, to the organization. But if somebody comes in stupid hot with a lot of cash and a lot of draft picks, and we're talking really, in all honesty, Jets, maybe Cardinals are in that boat. I don't see too many people. I don't want the Cowboys 12-20. That's not that does nothing for me right now. I want your second. I want your 16th. I want your 33rd. And I want next year's first. if they gave us that, have a great career, Fernando. Love you, brother. We'll be rooting for you, just not in the silver and black. So if I kind of eased you into it a little bit, money check on that, you kind of have to have that in mind. Okay. Now I've heard some people say if the Raiders trade that pick, Raider fans are going to lose their effing minds. Well, those are the same people that have put themselves in a philosophy and not an educated opinion. Because you have to be real about this. Okay. Is it gonna the only thing that I have is if we trade back is okay, but what's the plan? We're gonna need a franchise quarterback because a 39-year-old busted up Kirk Cousins is not gonna be our franchise quarterback. Just hoping the Raiders curse doesn't get a hold of Mendoza. Yeah. I'm going to run through some chat here, guys. I know 805. Thanks for coming in, brother. I didn't mean to ignore you. Just a heads up, I'm going live with Leo tonight, and he's trying to set up a call-in number for the chat. It's people's opportunity to get me with the Fernando talk. Yeah. Only bad thing is 805 Friday nights is mama nights. So even like Jeff's, like other guy, I don't really YouTube it after when the wife gets home at 5 o'clock. That's why I'm doing it my show right now. She's at work. So I kind of have to give mama time, because we're at that point in our lives, daughter's getting married, son just graduated college, and we're trying to, get this big house, and I still have my mom. So trying to figure out exactly where we're going to take, so we got to try and spend as much Friday time as we can, because tomorrow we have a lot of things going on. She's got stuff with her family she got to take care of and whatnot. So, but I'll give it a shout out to you though. If anybody hasn't been to 805's channel, go to his channel. Does a really good job with the film review. I really like it because he finds some stuff that I wasn't even paying attention to. I wish I could sit in the room with them and kind of point out some of the things that I see, that even on the negative side, because you gotta be able to pick out even your superheroes. You got to pick out the kryptonite, be able to identify the kryptonite. So get back to Raiders college film wasn't anything to wow back then either. Just hoping the Raiders curse doesn't. Yeah, Brady built himself with the Patriots. That was he was able to take advantage of the resources that he had with New England and build himself. And even first Super Bowl Brady wasn't special, because if you remember, the next year they went 5-11, I think. The next year. And of course, they had a lot of injuries, of course, but it is. Patrick Mahomes played a lot of RPO-based attack run pass ups. This is a good point. I'm not going to name names at it, but even SpyTech identified this the other day in his press conference, that pretty much every college football program out there does not run an NFL-based offense. They might have bits and pieces of it, but they don't. And every draft pick in the last 20 years, to be quite honest with you, every quarterback that's come into the NFL had to adapt to some of the NFL concepts and what is more important and what's not more important to be successful as an NFL quarterback. There's been guys that were lights out in college and they get to the pros and they get a heavy dose of reality. And it's like, that's just not the way it is, my friend. Bryce Young is most recently is a perfect example. He had a plethora of success at Alabama. And then when he gets to the pros and it's like, okay, son, you're the number one, go. And no resources in play. There's no, I don't think the coaching staff was prepared for him. Which is very important. If you're going to draft a quarterback number one, don't you think you ought to have some people in the building know what the hell they're doing with quarterbacks? I'm not bueno in the house. Robert Pena, salute to you, brother. Yeah, I saw that. If you're going to Bakersfield, dude, if you travel up, and if you're going to go hit up 99 and head to Sacramento, man, give me a shout out. I'll shoot you my address, swing by, maybe have lunch or something. Bueno, thanks for coming in, brother. Here at work listening. How about you, Pena? Hope all is well. Hope your guys' lunch is good and I don't make you regurgitate it because that would be a bad thing. I want to leave a positive taste in your mouth, I guess. Getting ready for Bears. Yeah. All right. So we got a lot of chat back and forth. Uh, let's see. So, so Jason is going to be on suicide watch after we pick Mendoza. No, I'm not on suicide watch. No, that's not me. In fact, that's who I want. Because I'm just, as a Raider fan, I'm just tired of kicking the can down the road, trying to pick up somebody's backup quarterback to try and turn them into, because we've done it twice. The philosophy in the building is we could do it again. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes you have to get your guy that's yours and build him up, build the team around him, and push forward. Which is, I was hoping we could have done that with Derek Carr. Which I think, to be quite honest with you, looking back on it, picking him in the second round is probably what hurt us, because if we would have picked him in the first round, we would have had fifth-year option, which means that contract would have been, we could have hit the pause button on his contract a little sooner and then build more through the draft that way. 805, I'm with you, family time. Got the wife and 3 kids. They're my priority. This is just a passion and love for the game of football. Exactly. And just being able to chop it up with fellow Raider fans and have good camaraderie. I think this offseason has kind of fractured a lot of that good camaraderie because of where we're at. Well, let's face it, we're in a zone we're not normally in. This is only the third time in our history that we've ever had the number 1 pick. And to be quite honest with you, is a number 1 pick I ask you this, 805, do you think the number 1 pick this year is as valuable in asset collection as it was last year, or what it's going to be next year? You tell me. Does that pigeonhole us into Fernando Mendoza? There are some people that say yes. I disagree. I don't think it does pigeonhole us into Fernando Mendoza. If we think, and when I say we, my front office, the guys that I trust, the Spytech and company, that if they feel that he's absolute, go get him, man. Go get him. If it's like in the second, we're picking 36 in the second round. If there's a guy at the top of the first round that you really, really, really want, and you want to give up 3 draft picks to go get him, freaking do it. Put both feet on the ground, slam your fist, go get him. I would rather you be aggressive than to be weak and scared when you're drafting. To be quite honest with you, this year, trading back away from Fernando Mendoza, to me, that's a scare tactic. That's not being aggressive. And we can sit here and we can say, well, he's an RPO, or he doesn't progressions. And okay, doesn't take a lot of snaps from under center. None of these guys take snaps from under center like they should coming out of college. None of them. Ty Simpson only took snap from under center 38 times. That's a lot more than Fernando by far. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the issue going to the next level. Because and I know you can teach a 12, 13-year-old kid how to take a snap from under center and do it the right way. So I think a 22-year-old with a bachelor's degree, soon to be master's degree, with the 1400 SAT score, Ivy League school intelligence, I'm pretty sure he could probably figure out how to take a snap from under center. I'm not worried about that. Not at all. Because none of them could do that, really, coming out of college. Now, I can tell you this, if Al Davis was still alive, Al Davis hated shotgun, hated it with a passion. We would never draft a quarterback if that man was still alive. He just hated it. But if you could throw it 70 yards standing on one knee in the swamp, then he's going to draft you. Make it make sense. I don't know. And that was and his scouting department was still running off 3x5 cards going into the 2012 draft. So we already had computers by then. Now this computer is a 2013 computer that I'm working on right now. Way better than 3x5 cards, right? So I've done a little something. What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk more about what position in the draft do you feel is the most important? Okay. I don't want to do mock drafts because everybody's going to be all over the board, especially this year. They're all over the board, right? But what position do you think is the most important? So I kind of narrowed it down. I can only do 4 choices on the poll, but I'm going to throw this poll up there for you. So in the chat, you're just going to press the number. If it's number 1 is QB, number 2 is running back, number 3 is offensive line, and if there's a specific position on the offensive line, just do a second chat and put that in there. Or number 4 is just BPA. All right, best player available. Because let's face it, best player available is going to fill any need on our team. I think the only position that we don't need to fill in the draft is tight end. And I'm telling you guys right now, if you look at some of the top 40, 50 and how they're categorizing these guys, they're pushing us at tight end. The 36 is going to have more tight ends in that area than what we care to enjoy, which just sucks. It's like the top of the board, the top 3 guys on the board are all tight ends. You know, I got to reach back to number 7 guy on the board to, just because the position of need. Who knows? Let's see. I think the new Mendoza song Graphic Raider made just turned me into Team Trade Back. I have one that's pretty cool. Let me know when you want to hear it. I hope Jeff's listening to you. So so you only get 1 vote. As soon as you text it in, it will register, and you only get to do it once. So if you want, you have to subscribe. So if you want, open up 5 different YouTube accounts, subscribe, and then you can vote 5 times, which I don't mind if you do that either. So let's get back to what we're talking about. Right. And one of the things that I would rather, to be quite honest with you, with the Fernando and the number 1 pick, I would rather select him and be wrong than to pass and be wrong, because that hurts even more. You can see it with Aaron Rodgers. We took Fabian Washington right before Aaron Rodgers. You can see it. Now, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers would have had the same career with us. No way. I don't. In fact, I absolutely 110% sure he would. If you saw how we've carried ourselves since he was selected, but we would have been better. But he would have probably would have been a free agent after about year 6. He'd have probably said, "You know what? I got to get out of here." He probably wouldn't even made it to Vegas. He'd have been gone in Oakland. Although playing in Oakland was a lot of fun, but for a quarterback, might not be. I know we had a lot of fun in Oakland. So let me ask you this, guys. What does a real Raider look like? What does it look like? You tell me. In the chat, you tell me. What does a real Raider look like? And I'm also going to be honest with you guys when it comes to the Fernando Mendoza. I think some people pass judgment on him based on his personality and not his performance. And to me, that's because I've heard it. I heard it on another show the other day. Somebody say, I would rather get somebody out of the hood that is athletic than they get Fernando. That's a shame. That's a shame because I've never, ever evaluated a player based on his personality. I might critique his behavior, what he does off the field. Is he going to hang out at the club when he should be, resting up, getting his therapies in, getting ready for a game? Is he have a lot of personal drama in his life, that it affects his game? Those I'll critique those all day long. It's the same. It's the same with a lot of people. To me, it doesn't matter. One of my favorite players is Marshawn Lynch. Some people will say, I don't like his personality. What's wrong with his personality? Now, he's made some stupid mistakes, DUIs, driving. But when it comes to family and how he is with his family, and he's that guy is actually really smart. You might watch him on podcasts and think, oh my God, no, that dude is legit, man. When it comes to intelligence, he's smart. Did I say I was biased and wants NorCal players? So I said, nah, no, I don't think, unless you're talking to somebody else. I want a strong run heavy offense, play action, and ball control offense. Exactly. And that's where taking a snap under center is going to be really beneficial to Fernando Mendoza, especially being 6'5" and taking a snap from under center. People don't realize that height, that his build is perfect for under center. Perfect. Now, when you're 6'1", 6 foot, or a stretched 5'11", you need to be back in shotgun to be able to see and read it gives you a better picture. But when you're 6'5" and you stand up and you look and you're checking, where's the mic, where's the strong safety? Okay, or they're showing cover 2, but they're going to switch to quarters in just a second because that's what that guy right there likes to do. He's got his shoulders turned outside, not inside. So I'm going to check to a run. And I am fully 100% believe that Fernando can do those things. Last week, Jason, you mentioned all the players in the draft that had the opportunity to knock Fernando's dick in the dirt. It was a masterclass example of a perfect response. That's just it. I'm not going to here's the thing. I am not going to cherry pick certain parts of it. Evaluate the whole thing. Okay. What does here, we'll do this right now. 805, you want to have that conversation? Let's talk third down efficiency. Talk about it. You mentioned, you mentioned that Fernando had the 60th rated schedule versus Ty Simpson had the 15th strength of schedule. Okay. All right. I get that. How many top 25 defenses did Fernando face versus Ty Simpson? That would be 5 top 5 defenses that Fernando faced towards the end of the year. Ty Simpson had 4, one of which was Ole Miss. And I didn't think Ole Miss's defense was that good, but statistically they were top 25. When the chips are down and you need a guy to go out there, and this is coming from Kurt Signetti. This is him in an interview. We knew in certain games at certain times when we needed to depend on him, we could depend on him, and he got the job done. That's what I'm looking for. So not just a film, but you're looking at the totality of it, right? Because let's be honest, if you went back and you watched other people's game film, I mean, I could pick apart tons of guys they're like, this guy is not going to be good in the NFL. Not. Just being quite honest. But you got to look at the totality of it. And when I'm seeing how he's performing, because 805, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was watching this stuff as it was happening. I didn't wait till the end of the season. I was watching it as it was happening, and it kind of gives you a different perspective when it's happening. I'm watching the huddle. I'm watching how is he on the sideline when the camera pans to the sideline and he's there with his quarterback coach or his offensive coordinator. How is he responding? How is he interacting? Is he sulking when he comes off the field? Is he blaming people? Is he walking away, throwing his iPad, walking away? Those are important things. That's some things that with Derek that I had a hard time with when he was with John Gruden. It almost seemed like he just couldn't connect. Because those are in value. When you first step off the field after a bad drive or a touchdown, either a touchdown or a bad drive, and you step off the field, and the first interaction with your position coach, your coordinator, and your head coach are important to going into the future with that game. What did his stats? Well, he had 12 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, 70% completion with a 170 quarterback rating against top 25 defenses towards the end of the season. That was during the playoff push, the last 5 games. Whereas Ty Simpson was 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, right? And yeah, so we're going to punish a guy because he had a decent run game. Well, that's kind of what you want, ain't it? I don't know. Let's see. Mendoza was average at best. And the defense gave up an average of 16 points per game. He only had moments. What moments did he have? Because I think what you're, and this is, and I totally agree with you with your film perspective, is there was a lot of deficiencies in the first, second, third quarters of some games. The Purdue game was horrible. And the same with Penn State. Penn State, the running game was getting locked down. He was trying to bail out of. He was trying to bail out of plays when he shouldn't have. If he just stayed in the pocket a little bit longer, not drifted, not fade, stayed in there a little bit longer. His progressions, absolutely. He comes off a number 1 or number 2, or he sticks with number 1 and number 2, or he goes from 1 to 3, and 2 was getting open, which would have been a stronger play. Absolutely. I get that. But at the same time, why not say there's deficiencies in Fernando? I don't feel he's the number 1 value pick, right? But there are some things, and you might not want to admit it, but there are some things in his game that do translate to the NFL. His precision, his accuracy, his ability to throw in spots that he needs to complete those passes. Now, I heard he only throws back shoulder fades and go balls. Well, let's go back to an interview of when he first came to Indiana. There's an interview where he specifically, one of the first people he met when he was stepped on campus was Elijah Surratt. Elijah Surratt told him and said, "Hey man, this is what you need to do. Study the go balls. We're going to work on go balls, and I want it back shoulder fades." So they started working on it, and then old Charlie Becker come in, and he's working on back shoulder fades, and Omar Cooper is working on, and they start programming that together, which made them who they were on offense. Was they an elite offense? They had a great running game. Not gonna knock that. They had a good passing game. Was it like, wow? It was efficient. Got the job done. But when the totality of it is, or what I'm looking for is when the money's on the line, chips are all the chips are in. Is he going to blink? Because Ty Simpson blinked. He blinked. He pissed down his leg against Oklahoma. He lost to Indiana. They got throttled. Okay. You know, I'm going to hear, well, he had the stomach virus or he got his ribs cracked. Okay. I get it. Maybe he should have stayed one more year because he only had one more year. He had an extra year of eligibility because of his graduate status. He would have got an extra year of eligibility. Why didn't he stay? That's a good question, don't you think? Because towards the end of the year, you watch Ty Simpson towards the end of the year, he was not the same as he was at the beginning of the year when he was playing University of Louisiana Monroe, or when he was playing Wisconsin, or when he played. He didn't do too bad against Florida State, but there was moments in that game that you just went, son, you need to buckle up. These guys are getting after you. Decent run game, fourth best run game in the country, second best and best defense in college, top 3 O-line in college, fifth least penalized team. He has moments. He rarely ever took over and dominated a game, which kind of means he didn't have to, right? But go back to Kirk Cignetti interview. I'm not going to tell you. You guys go watch those, and he will tell you when we needed our guy, our field runner to go out on the field, make a drive, make a play. We trusted him. He accomplished it. He did everything. And he works at his craft day in and day out. And he prepares as hard as he can day in and day out. So I think, would you rather have a quarterback that's going to come in hungry and want to do better? Or would you rather have a quarterback that come from Alabama? Because you look at there's a ton of Alabama quarterbacks out there in the NFL, right? And my PTSD is the Alabama quarterback. It doesn't matter who it is. Because for me, for some reason, they come in the NFL and they feel entitled. Like they don't have to do the extra things. They're from Alabama. I'm Mac Jones from Alabama. I'm Jalen Hurts from Alabama, which was a good thing he went to Oklahoma to finish his career. Tua Tagovailoa. Right? What has he done? Bryce Young. You know, good quarterbacks, athletic, great quarterbacks. But what have they done? You know, I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. So let me start this one here. I'm just going to throw names out there because that's what we have a tendency to do instead of trying to manufacture what we believe is the best quarterback. I want to do this. Who do you prefer as a starting quarterback? Who would you prefer as a starting quarterback? Would it be Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow, or Michael Vick? This one right here should you now. I just picked these. I was just like, let me just throw some in there. There's tons of quarterbacks we could add to this list, but the poll will only allow me to put 4 people on there. So I just want to get a basic idea. One guy is picked Joe Burrow. Or, let's see. So we got Money Chuck. When you put the text next to it, it doesn't register. So it's single digits only. Just throw the digit in there. Donuts. I'll take 3 because he's the only one playing now. That was funny. All right, see how that worked, Money Chuck. If you saw what Money Chuck just did, is if you put the number and then a text, it won't register. Put the number, hit send, And then if you want to respond to your number, then do a second chat. That's how. Otherwise, this poll will not register that. So I'll let that run for a little bit. Shoot. I don't think it'll let me overwrite comments. Okay. So we're gonna go to comments real quick. If you guys are in the chat real quick, 805 brings it. Just because I think Ty Simpson is more pro ready and better prospect than Mendoza doesn't mean I draft Simpson at number 1 or even in the first round. And that's not what I'm saying either. I'm not saying. I mean, there's going to be people out there that are absolutely going to say they do not want Fernando Mendoza. They prefer Ty Simpson over Fernando Mendoza, and I get that. And on top of it, did Ty Simpson run a more pro-style offense than what Fernando did? Absolutely. At Indiana, right? This is Indiana, Alabama, right? But Ty Simpson also had the benefit of being in that offense for 3 years. Fernando was in that offense 1 year. Fernando Mendoza has had more offensive coordinators, more quarterback coaches, and more coaches in general than AOC in the last 3 years. It wasn't until he got to Indiana, it was some stability with a program that was defined that made him better. So, because with it, I mean, it is what it is. And like I said, if no offense to you, brother, whatsoever. Once all this shit's over with, then we'll move on. And like I said, I be quite honest with you, I'm not opposed to trading back. I'm not. But God damn it, I'm just tired of it, man. When I've spent tens of thousands of dollars in the last 20 years going to the games, buying the merchandise, doing the tailgates, spending time away from my family to go watch a freaking football team that is doing nothing in return for me. You know, there just comes a point in time where you just go, you know what? Screw it. Take a chance. Take the kid. See what we got. You put the right people around him, hell, you did it. You finally got us out of that funk. If it doesn't happen, then guess what? Just another 5 years of stupidity, right? We're already used to it. So you got to take that chance. There comes a point in time you just got to take that chance. And and like I said, I respect your film adaptations and how you put that together and you come at it from a coach. But you also got to realize it too. You're scouting him from one side of the field, not the other. You have to look at both positions. Okay, what does he do right? Have you done that? That might be something worth doing. Yeah, it might. And I don't want you to change your opinion. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't want you to change your opinion. Because if you're gonna have an opinion, stay pat with it, but have something to support it. And that's what the greatest thing about you is. You have something to support that. I kind of wish you would have done it earlier, and so late, because then it would probably lean a little bit. Yeah. Here's a great point right here. And for those of you guys that I used to hate Brady back in the day, let me bring this poll back up. Any of you guys want to get in our chat? Drew Brees number 1, Tom Brady number 2, 3 is Joe Burrow, 4 is Michael Vick. I see Brees and Vick are not getting any love, but there's a lot of Joe Burrow, and mind you, I like Joe Burrow. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy. But he is not going to be. He'll have a Hall of Fame career. So did Dan Fouts, had a Hall of Fame career. Fran Tarkenton had a Hall of Fame career. I don't care if Mendoza has a Hall of Fame career. I don't. Put some trophies in the box. Is he going to do it himself? Absolutely not. No way is he going to do it himself. I get the emotional side of it. I want to QB just as bad as everyone else. I just want the right one in my perspective. And see, this is where in late November, about mid to late November, is when I started drooling. I was like, okay, this kid is just, he is just throwing the ball. Like the UCLA game, man. There was 3 or 4 of them. You just went, wow, holy crap. And then let's go to the Ohio State game. Yeah, they had the number 4 rushing team in college football, but they weren't the number 4 rushing team that game. Yeah, he only had 177 yards passing, but he was efficient. He didn't cost the team the game, right? He didn't put the ball in bad spots to cost him the game, right? Didn't fumble, didn't throw interceptions at the wrong time. And when he was asked to make the completions to get their team into scoring position, he did that. Okay. He hit Charlie B on a post corner early in the game, get him in scoring position. Hey, if you guys, any of you guys other in the chat or just sitting here watching me and 805 go back, I'm gonna call the wife here in a little bit. Hopefully, I can get out of eating Chinese food for once on Friday night, sitting around watching Disney movies. We'll see. I've stated many things that I like about Mendoza. People just don't hear it or forget about it. Once I start mentioning the question marks I have, it becomes the "you hate Mendoza" comebacks. I don't think you hate Mendoza, really. I know the thing of it is I know you see the value of the number 1 pick, and it has to be. It's almost like there's a certain level that person has to be that guy at the number 1 pick. I think the only problem that we have this year is the entire draft puts us in this position. You know what I mean? It's not the media. I'm not blaming. I think the entire draft. You look at some of these conceptual draft boards that people are putting out. Even usually you can find like Daniel Jeremiah and Kuiper and McShay and all these guys, these gurus. I know everything about draft boards and stuff. Usually when you see their draft boards, there's maybe 1 or 2 little tweaks here and there on a guy in the top 15, top 20. These guys are all over the board. But and this is where I'm gonna also give 805 credit. He doesn't hate the kid at all. I've never seen him in any of his shows talk about his personality, his culture, or who he is. He goes strictly off of what he sees on the game film. And my only pushback to him is, yes, those are the RPO, the one read release type stuff. I get that. That doesn't translate to the NFL. But just like Spytek said, they all do that. So as an NFL franchise, you have to have the ability to fix that. If you don't, then that's what's going to happen. So this is where like the Bryce Youngs and certain people in the NFL, they got drafted number 1 or number 2 overall, and they came from those college systems that were identical to that. Where they struggle is because they get drafted by a team that is predominantly a defense-oriented franchise. Okay, that somebody that they got a defensive-minded head coach, but yet they're going to go get this guy here. And it's not until you go, okay, the marriage of coach and player is ultra important. It does not matter who the guy is coming out of college. It does not matter, what they're, it has to do with the marriage of the coach and that player. And sometimes it might not be the head coach, it might be the offensive coordinator and the quarterback coach specifically. Okay, so you can have a defensive minded head coach, but you have one of the premier offensive coordinators and premier quarterback coaches, along with other resources around him that can elevate him to that point. Right. So we all know Bill Belichick was more of he was a defensive coordinator, right? He was a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator with the New York Giants. But he knew that he had to understand every aspect of the game. That's why a lot of his assistant coaches, he would have he'd have a linebacker that he coached as a linebacker through college or the pros, but he'd make him a tight ends coach. Go coach the running backs. Go coach the tight ends. You need to learn those, refine those if you ever want to get to the head coaching level. Let's see. More outside of the. It doesn't show to read a defense well out of an RPO. I have a tendency to. There's a lot of that's absolutely true, but there's also some of it that when he's under pressure, his accuracy it dips, but it still is in that range, and you go, wow, that's pretty dang good under pressure. There are some times that his accuracy does dip when he gets outside the pocket, and then there's times where you just go, whoa, how do you make that throw? And it's like in the Ohio State game, he rolled out left, and the corner and the linebacker came up, start chasing him, and he stepped back and he threw it in a place where the receiver caught the ball, and it was a great play because it got him a first down. But had he thrown it in front of the guy instead of at his shoulder or his helmet, he'd probably still be running for all we know, because that play was that wide open. Which you go, dang, But here are some things that I like about the kid. Is I like the fact that he's watching 805's show and he's learning from 805's tape, and he's going to make those corrections, and he's not going to be the same quarterback in the pros as he was in college. Trust me. His accuracy is 50-50 on the move, takes bad sacks when the defense brings pressure, and the answer isn't RPO. Some of the sacks that he took, to be quite honest with you, some of the sacks he took was a huge breakdown. Now, we talked earlier about he had an elite offensive line. Yes, in the run game. They were not elite in pass pro. They weren't. And the right tackle that they ended up with towards the end of the year was trash at best. I mean, he was bad. And it was when the ball was snapped, you were just hoping he could get in the way of the outside edge rusher. And teams, they knew they had to bring the heat, man. They had to bring the heat, get after him. So, but Money Check also. So if Brady, Spytek, and Kubiak draft Mendoza, will it be because of media hype, shuffle mentality, or lack of film study? Well, I can tell you this. I don't think Brady, Spytek, and Kubiak are calling Daniel Jeremiah and Todd McShay, go, what do you think? No, I don't think so. I think they're doing their own homework. And there's more to it than what me, or anybody else that are watching right here. There's more to it than what you're seeing, right? There's more to it than an all 22 film that a fan can pull up and play with on the computer, right? It's like if I sit him down in a room and I go, okay, give me 2 plays, what's your can on this formation? Go. You got 10 seconds. Go. And how does he execute that homework assignment that I just gave him? Okay, now how does he apply that out on the field. Because you got to understand, and 805, he mentioned this many a times, he's only done what was asked of him. Well, that's kind of what a good teammate does, right? I mean, if I have a point guard that is really good at driving the lane, but he's not very good at shooting 3-pointers, I'm going to probably want him to drive the lane and score. And if he sits back and wants to fire threes because that's what his dad told him to do, or he feels like that's the way he should play, then he's not going to play. Even if he's that good, he's not going to play. Now, it's a basketball analogy because I played a lot of basketball when I was younger, and actually basketball was my best sport. Of course, you look at me now and go, you didn't play basketball. No, I did. Yeah, played at a very high level too, of basketball. Played against some really good. I played AAU ball against Jason Kidd. I played against Cherokee Parks in an AAU tournament down at Capistrano Beach in LA. It was so. I played a lot of really good basketball. Played a lot too. Played so much my right foot is just destroyed because of playing so much basketball in shoes I should have never been playing basketball in. Let's see. Welcome to the 805 Raiders First Downs show. I'm your host, Raiders First Downs. My co-host is 805. When Philly beat KC in the Super Bowl, played a very simple offense scheme. RPOs ran the ball and executed fundamental football when it wasn't complicated. There was a lot of RPOs that game. But that's because of the defensive front and how Spagnuolo was going to sell out to the run. So Philadelphia wanted to keep him in run formations, try and pass. But it wasn't until the second quarter that they were able to start moving the ball here. Right? And even Saquon Barkley only had 65 yards rushing off of 30 attempts. But I can tell you this, those were some nasty, effective runs. Some of those 2 and 3 yard runs they were just as much worth as a 10-yard run, because over time, Kansas City was like, we're tired of tackling this guy. Well, now we're going to throw it over the top. When defenses brought the heat and wasn't there, he never showed the ability to make protection line adjustments to combat pressure. Yeah, and that's by design of how that offense was. I don't think they ever had it built in. It's not to say he can't do it, though, right? I just myself think they just didn't have that. We're like, here's the play, run the play, right? And your protection formations are based off of what's only in front of your face mask, right? So your right guard and your left guard and your center, they couldn't look over towards the end or look at the linebackers. That's not your job. You just look what's in front of you. Okay, you got 6 inches that way, 6 inches that way. That's your pass pro. All right. None of this, make up your own combo blocks. I'm going to step back and I'm going to combo block with this guy, and then I'm going to come off in anticipation of a tight end stunt or a tackle in stunt. Tackle in stunt. Is Mendoza supposed to call his own plays when what they did all season got them where they were? But that's just it. I mean, you don't change. You don't. And Signetti will even tell you, we didn't run this this operation wasn't to showcase a particular person, but to collectively come together as a team. That was our objective, is to win, right? Just win, baby. So if we draft Fernando Mendoza, this is my take, right? And in 2029, he has his best year. He comes in, he throws 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 3,700 yards, right? He has third down. He's 65% third down efficiency, 75% in the red zone. He only threw 2 interceptions in the red zone. We were scoring touchdowns at a higher rate than field goals. We're starting to throw some things together that might make a little bit of sense that we ain't done in the past. Because you guys all know Raiders first downs is cool. Raiders touchdowns is where I want to go. So touchdowns count. That's ultimately where we want to go, right? Uh, no, and what they did worked. It's not his fault, but in my opinion, at least question marks on what he is capable of doing consistently at a high level. That's where we got to go behind closed doors, 805. We got to go behind closed doors. We can't just see. And what I'm seeing with the tea leaves that are being dropped on the ground and these are like interviews from October, August, September, October of last year. It's like okay, it's just like I said earlier. His back shoulder fades. He ran a lot. He threw a lot of back shoulder fades. That's because of Elijah Surratt. Okay, that I thought the same thing. And I see this interview, and I go, and it's like, yeah. First thing he said, he goes, when I first got to Indiana, one of the first people I met was Elijah Surratt, and he told me, he said, we need to work on the back shoulder fades, right? You know, so it's like, and I'm not going to knock anybody for that because I think, in all quite honesty, I think that's one of the most deadliest passes in the NFL. It's the most difficult pass in the NFL to defend. And that's why Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams are so damn good at it, man. I'm not going to take that away from him. And we have a guy on our team, I think, line up on the outside, do out back shoulder fades all day. It's like if the defender's high on my right shoulder, throw it back, throw it to my hip. If he's at my hip, throw it up high, throw it to the cone. I'll go get it. So you're going to have two options, and he's going to read that. Where's the defender at in relation to Brock Bowers as they're going to the end zone? Does a player have to make the catch? Absolutely, he's got to make the catch. I'm never going to discredit that. Well, as a receiver, who made the catch. Oh, yeah, he did. He made a great catch. Omar Cooper made a great catch in that Penn State game. Absolutely. Dwight Clark, man, he went up and got that ball against Dallas in 1981. But I ain't going to discredit the throw. Joe Montana had to do everything he could to get that ball to Dwight Clark. He had to buy time. He had to let Ed Too Tall Jones and Randy White get in his face. Pause. Come on, Dwight. Come on. And then he knew at a certain point he could release it at the level that he did. And Dwight had to make the catch. I'm not Bueno's coming in with 805 is very valid concern, and I'm not discrediting it. And what I appreciate is the fact that he's done that. Right? He's done that. Go back and look. Okay. Now I've gone back and looked, but I see things that are just like, okay, I'm not going to overlook this, folks, because if you watch Patrick Mahomes, Texas Tech, final year at Texas Tech, you'd be like, you're crazy drafting him at number 10. That dude is a liability. He just wants to run around, hold the ball here, throw it wherever he wants, when he wants. You know? Yeah, he had 700 yards passing in one game. Okay. But how many interceptions did he have? When did he have the interceptions? Because you throw for 550 yards and 5 touchdowns, but you throw the game-winning interception, what good does that do? Well, you had a great stat day. Right? I mean, it is what it is. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, and Baker Mayfield all had question marks coming in college scheme, not transferring to the NFL. Jaden Daniels is another one, extremely. And this is another thing too, is statistics. So I went back and I looked. I go and I graphed it. I put the statistics in, just the passing stats, right? Jaden Daniels and Fernando Mendoza constantly touch. And this is what I mean. I actually found that Jaden Daniels had less pass attempts than Fernando in college. He only had last year. I'm going off of last season stats because that's the one you got the Heisman off of this stat, off of what you did this year. Okay. 327 pass attempts with 260 completions. Great. 72.2% completion. Outstanding. 3,812 yards, 40 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. Won the Heisman. That's his passing stats. Now, he did have 1,100 yards rushing and 10 touchdowns. Great. Got it. That's part of your game. In college, that translates very well. In college, that does wonders in college. See Tim Tebow at the end of the stage. Got it. Did a great job. Okay. But I just gave you the stats for Jane Daniels. Fernando Mendoza is not far behind, right? 378 pass attempts, 270, I think it's 273 completions, 72%. So it's only 0.2% off, right? He had 41 touchdowns, okay, and 6 interceptions. So he had one more touchdown, 2 more interceptions, right? And those are the passing category. That's the comparison of the passing statistics. He only had 290 yards, I think, rushing. Fernando did, but he had 7 touchdowns rushing. Pretty good, right? Versus 10. So there's not a whole lot of. I mean, you don't score points with yards. You score points with touchdowns, right? So touchdowns count. Yardage is nice. Touchdowns is great. Touchdowns win championships, right? The objective is, and I heard this. This is. I think is Booger McFarland, one of the stupidest color commentators you could ever have. Well, tonight, if the Raiders score more points than the Chiefs, they should be able to win the game. That was his take. And I about fell out of my chair. It's like, oh my God. And they pay this guy millions of dollars to come on here and do this. Some of us would do it for a ham sandwich and a beer. And some of us would just do it for the ham sandwich. I don't disagree. It's just that 80% of what he's asked to do is about 20% of what he'll do in the NFL. Actually, I think you're kind of exaggerating some of that. Because even NFL teams do run a lot of RPOs, single read, get the ball out. There's a lot more. Kansas City actually runs RPO 20% of the time. The league averages, I believe, about 10% throughout the NFL, and it's dictated by who your quarterback is. Washington actually. What's funny is Washington actually runs it more, but the way they define it is whether it's an RPO. Some people are going, that was a play action. Well, no, he faked a handoff on a draw, stood back with like he was going to pass, and then took off running. That's, that was the option. The option was there. Josh Allen was an inaccurate gunslinger who didn't take care of the ball or win much at Wyoming. Now he's at Wyoming. It boils down to this. Who do we trust more? Those who run or watch YouTube fan forums, or Brady Spytek and Brady? Or we'll just say Brady, Spytek, and Kubiak. I think you skipped that. Well, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but there we go. It's the next text. Sorry. But absolutely. You got to trust the experts, because ultimately we're just fans, right? And the worst thing that we could do as fans is bitch and argue over shit we can't control. Really, that's what it comes down to. I just like to give my opinion. I'm not changing the one thing I do is not change somebody's opinion as long as they can validate. And 805 can validate it 110%. We just have a disagreement on it. And and there's nothing wrong with that. There absolutely is nothing wrong with that. It's just how far you take that disagreement is what makes it an issue. All right. Justin Herbert should have been a Commander, Lion, or Dolphin, but people were worried about his scheme inflating the numbers and not seeing elite arm talent and physical tools. All right. So I'm going to hit pause on the elite arm talent when it comes to Fernando Mendoza. Is it elite arm talent? I would say it's above average to just above average, not elite. When you start talking elite arm talent, Herbert's there. So is Josh Allen. Joe Burrow has elite arm talent. And Joe Burrow is not so much based on his velocity, but just how he spins the ball and how it's such a catchable ball, and it's always in a place it needs to be. what are some of the other ones? Patrick Mahomes' arm talent is absurd. I would say you have elite, then you have all right. That dude's crazy because he just um, Lamar Jackson, I think, has elite arm talent, but lacks the decision making to go with it. Um, and so, and that's and so elite arm talent. No, Fernando does not have elite arm talent, folks. He hit the brakes on that. He doesn't. He's got average to above average. Um, his where you're going to see Fernando Mendoza have success is what he does starting Monday through Thursday to Friday to Saturday to Sunday and how it translates out onto the field. Okay. So there are some people that can watch game film, and there's some people that can just go, aha, I know what the hell I'm watching. And there's some people that watch even Fernando's that there's some guys out there in the ether that have put game film, and I'm like, holy crap. It's like, oh my God. He did look off that safety. It doesn't look like it because his head's in one spot. But when you see it from the backside, it's like it's real subtle because now all of a sudden you see his feet shift to the left and his head go snap, throw. It's out. And it's on target. So, but if fans are butts, they all drive us nuts, right? But we look at the core of what he brings. Prototypical 6'5", 236, runs a 4.7 40. Has average to above average arm strength, possesses the knowledge and skill to adapt to any offensive system that is provided to him. These are his scout. These are the matrix on his scouting report. Then you go and you watch the games and it's like, okay, wasn't really impressed, especially the Purdue game. The Purdue game, I can Penn State, Purdue, Iowa. The first quarter of the Wisconsin game kind of was like, and some of you guys, you could throw the Miami game in there, the Natty, as to most of that game was not ideal, but I had gotten to the point at that point. I had already said, I don't care what he does in the national championship. I've seen enough. I want this kid. And when I say I've seen enough, interviews. Not just his interviews, but interviews of other players, interviews of opponents. Okay, those are important. Perfect example is Brock Bowers when they interviewed Nick Saban at halftime of that game. He goes, "Damn it, I got it. We know we have to stop number 19, but we just can't figure it out. We try, and we can't figure it out." Those are good interviews. Those are where you go. You have a top 30 visit with a cornerback from, say, cornerback from Oregon or a cornerback from Penn State. You bring him in for a top 30 visit. So what was it like playing against Fernando Mendoza? You ask him that. Oh my God, I couldn't. Every time he threw the ball, I like, man, I had a break on the ball. I knew I was getting, and then all of a sudden it was by me in the hands of his receiver. And there was nothing we could do. We threw the kitchen sink at him. And it's still, because the Penn State game, they did throw the kitchen sink at him. But it wasn't until towards the end, he settled down, started making the plays. And then that final drive, 7-9, 80 yards. 2 minutes left, no timeouts. Sacked on the first play. I was like, oh shit, you guys ain't got a chance. I thought that was here we go. And then all of a sudden you just go, ooh, hit the out route, stop the clock, hit the seam, get up, clock the ball, hit the back shoulder flay with Charlie Becker. Oh, it was a great play. Don't get me wrong. Great play by Charlie Becker. But it was also put in a position where only he can make that catch. But he had to make the catch, right? It's very important. Kubiak ran 8% RPO. Let's see, but not much due to the NFL rules and the way he runs his offense. He can increase. Okay, so what he's talking about here is in the RP when the rule because of the rule, the difference in the rules of the NFL versus college. In college, your offensive lineman could go downfield 3 yards. Number one. Number two, in college, you can. Okay, you can't do that cadence in the NFL. They'll call a false start on you, especially if you fake clap. It's a false start in the NFL. That's the rule. Sorry, I don't make the rules. But college and then in the pros, linemen only get 1 yard downfield, whereas in college you get 3 yards. They can go 3 yards downfield, which totally changes everything because you could block your guy 3 yards downfield and still throw the ball. So you're not worried about illegal man downfield. And if you got any of you guys have been watching NFL in the last 5-6 years, there's a lot of illegal men downfield calls every game and usually it's because of the RPO. It's because it just the processing is they took a little too long on deciding whether they're going to hit at the mesh point, whether they're going to hand it or I don't know if that end is coming up. It looks like he's going to step forward, so do I keep it and try to get around him? Not everybody's Lamar Jackson. They just keep the damn ball. I don't care if he's coming or going. I'm gone. So we're drafting Simpson with the first, trading for Sexy Dexy and signing OBJ for the comeback. Got it. Just kidding, bud. Sleep. No. I'm not buying Mendoza has an elite arm talent. His elite trait is a mental trait similar to Brady, Breeze, Burrow, and Manning. That's where I'm buying into it. Do you want an athletic quarterback or do you want a great quarterback? An athletic quarterback relies on this as athleticism to be successful. A great quarterback does the preparation, works on the keys, the fundamentals to make himself better. Every day grinds in the laboratory to get better. And that's what we want. And that's where my PTSD with Alabama quarterbacks come in. I just, for some reason, feel like to be quite honest with you, I think Ty Simpson's one of the best Alabama quarterbacks that they've had in years. A lot of that is due to Kellen. Even though he's a Nick Saban recruit, I think Kellen DeBoer, it's DeBoer, his last name, however you say his first name. I think he got a lot out of him, a lot of good things out of him, much like he did with Michael Penix. I think he maximized Michael Penix's. Mendoza's arm is perfectly fine for the NFL to see. I can say something positive about Mendoza. Better screenshot it. And listen, and that's fine. But here's the deal. This is what I don't like. Is I don't like if you're going to take cracks at the kid, take cracks at the kid. Don't take cracks at the kid, take cracks at the game. Right? That's why I have a big issue. And prove me wrong. I have a lot of my feeling in my gut is a lot of this has to do with cultural versus what we're seeing on tape and things like define arm talent, please. It's a term I've only heard the last few years and seems loosely defined. Arm talent, you're kind of right in a roundabout way. I think the definition of that has evolved and changed over the years, but mostly I think when we refer to arm talent, it's just basically what this provides: speed, accuracy, velocity. How does it spin? A lot of people don't realize this, that you can throw a football 100 miles an hour, but if those laces don't rotate at the right, you have the right RPM, it's not a catchable ball. That was one of John Elway's biggest knocks when he came out. He would throw a 75-mile-an-hour fastball with the football, but those laces would rotate something like 300 rotations per minute, right? Whereas you kind of want to get that sweet spot of about 60 to 75, just enough where it's cutting through the air, but yet at the same time, when it gets to its point, it starts to. You ever throw a Nerf ball, or especially those whistling Nerf balls? You kind of get that, and that's what the laces are going to be doing when the ball's coming into the receiver. I know that I've heard a lot of people say, "Yeah, this guy's really good at quarterback, but his balls are really hard to catch." What's his name? Kerry Collins that played for us. His balls were difficult to catch. even his soft throws, because just the way the ball spun. Yeah. So I think it's a combination. It is. It's a combination of everything and how you categorize what elite arm strength is. Some people just have like this uncanny natural ability to throw the ball, and that's one of the great things about Ty Simpson. If you watch him, he's just a natural thrower of the ball. It just look like it looks effortlessly, whereas Fernando looks like he kind of struggles a little bit when you look at it. It just looks a little clunky, right? One of the worst ones that I hated to watch throwing the ball, but was super phenomenal quarterback that never won shit except for a bunch of, he had a bunch of 14-2 and 12-4 and 11-5 seasons, but never could win anything. Was Philip Rivers? My God, his arm was like, it's like it looked like a shot, like the ball was like being shot putted, and it just looked weird. You see though, but if you saw an end zone view of him when he threw that ball, that was a sweet throw. The way that ball turned, the rotation of it with the laces, it's just beautiful. Where does Fernando lack based on these definitions? I would say most of it is development is where he's going to be lacking because he hasn't been in the right system at the right time. I like we say he wasn't asked to do these things at Indiana. It doesn't mean he can't, right? I wholeheartedly believe he can. I believe he can run a pro style West Coast offense 80% under center. I really do. Some people you say, I don't think so. I do. In fact, I think that would suit his game better than the RPO. Be quite honest with you, because of his physical makeup, his noggin that he has on his head. And do I base this off of interviews? No. This is what I'm basing his intelligence off of. Family foundation, where he come from, educational standards. His first offer at college was Yale. You don't go to Yale with season D's, taking advanced math. Okay. You go to Yale because you got something up there, something triggered, right? And usually your SAT scores are going to be one of the things. So I remember when I was working at the school, we had one of our kids went to Harvard. Okay. This kid had offers from Cal. He had Cal, USC, UNLV. Mostly a lot of the West Coast top tier teams were recruiting him. I know Wyoming had come in, the Naval Academy. The Naval Academy was big. They were like there every week trying to recruit him to come because he would have got, based on his community involvement, who he was the only kid on that campus that scared the shit out of me. He was a 6'5" Tonkin kid, 300 pounds, that was just built like no tomorrow. And he was so quiet, so nice, and so friendly. But man, when he played football, I think he led the team in injections that year. And we missed the state. We lost the NorCal Bowl by 4 points to the eventual state champion with that team. And his sister was a McDonald's All-American in basketball, went to Louisville to play basketball. So he came from a family. And now I'm correlating this with what I'm saying with Fernando Mendoza is he comes from that mindset that you work hard, you work to play, you don't play to work. Okay. So that's what you got to do. Bueno is in the house. Thanks. Hey, Bueno. Never mind. We'll talk about it later. Fernando throws the deep passes, accurate, has zip, layers passes. Where's the lack of arm talent? I'm not saying I'm saying average to above average. Money check. He does. He can do all those things, and he's really good at it. Where we start to categorize elite, to be quite honest with you, there's not a whole lot of that. I mean, when I think of elite arm talent, I think of John Elway. From my era, I think of John Elway. I think of Peyton Manning in the late '90s, early 2000s, elite arm talent. And the reason being is the speed, the velocity, speed, depth, how all those things. Now, the accuracy part of it is going to be more up in here, the vision, right? So it's how he knows to where to go with the ball. So it's not a knock, absolutely not a knock on Fernando if you label him as average to above average. Okay. Where you start to say weak arm talent is those that they can't make that throw. Like Fernando can make a throw from the opposite hash, college, mind you, wider, right? He can make that opposite hash 30-yard on a 30-yard out route from the opposite hash and put it on a dime. That's elite. But how fast the ball gets, it's kind of like how the ball travels, because a couple of those plays, like the one in Iowa when the safety rolled over and he dumped it over the cornerback's head and and the safety was coming over. The safety was a little late coming over. And NFL, even with the safety being late on that, in the NFL, he would have probably made a play on it. Either knocked the hell out of the receiver, knocked the ball away, maybe even popped it up in the air and got a bounce around interception. So it's those things. Now, in the NFL, he's also going to have narrow hash mark. So he's not going to be throwing an extra on a diagonal. It's going to be an extra 10, 15 yards on a diagonal. So if you use a squared plus b squared equals c squared, it kind of gives you the dimensions of what the angles are. So, and this is another thing. Hash marks play a big role as well as in the RPO. Yes, absolutely. If you're your field side, you run tight. You run tight to the short side and run everything like, okay, we're going to run tight to the short side and leave that edge rusher and a cornerback by themselves on the outside, run that RPO. So you got a one-on-one with your flanker on the outside. Your tight end came in motion. So now the edge, the defensive end, he has the ultimate decision because only him and a defensive tackle are going to be able to stop this run. And if he makes the wrong decision and goes down and Fernando keeps it and busts around the edge, so be it. Fernando didn't do that very much. He did have some where he ran outside, but not a lot. There's mostly, I'm going to be quite honest with you, those were ROs, not RPOs. They were run options, not run pass options. If it was a pass, it was more or less to kind of show like a play act. It's a different way of doing play action, so to speak. Mendoza is one of those QBs who could dissect the defense and make the right moves. He needs more, though. Okay, he needs more because a lot of Indiana did not have checks. Their offenses did not have checks. They did. They had a lot of this is the play, run the play, but there's two plays built into that play, right? So that's what an RPO is, right? You're going to run this play, okay? You're going to run 31, whatever their call is. You're going to run 31, so you're going to 3 left, 3 by 1 with a single back, and single back's going to be offset. You're going to be in the pistol formation. As soon as you're going to hit that mesh point, 1001. What did defensive end do? Nothing. The blocking assignments are the same. Okay, whether he holds it to throw it or he hands it off to run, the blocking assignment's the same. So how can you change? You can't change that. What are you going to do after you clap your hands and you get the ball? Are you going to go, wait, Lucy, Ricky, high, run, Ricky high, no, check that, and you already got the ball. You already said it. People are coming to tackle your ass. You better hurry up now. The plays were simplified where there's 2 plays involved in every one. So they already know if they call a run play, usually they'll call the pass play with the run play built into it. So there's no can. He's not going to can to it. He's going to take the snap, and depending on what his read is, that's where it's going. If he reads, I need to keep the ball and pass it, he's going to keep the ball and pass it. If I take the snap and I read, okay, we need to run the ball because the outside linebacker, the Mike and the outside linebacker are staying. They're anticipating pass. I'm going to hand it off because he's going to have your running back's going to have a lighter box when he hits the hole. That's the only thing that changed that. But when he gets into the pros, you can't do that because you might see a certain defense, and it's like that's not what they're running. I'm telling you, things are going to change as soon as the ball's snapped on the defensive side because defenses are more they can be better than what they are on the offense. You better keep that PTSD energy with the Indiana team. Most complete team we've seen in college football. If you're worried about the QBs on the old Bama teams, that's Mendoza with less production. Ooh. Misinterpret. No. So the PTSD is what they do when they come into the pros. Not what they do. What they do in college is phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's just sometimes they get to the pros. I'm not going to lie, man. Those Alabama guys, they would come into the pros. It was like Alex Leatherwood was a perfect example of that. He even said, it's like when he got to the Raiders, he was like, so I'm from Alabama. What are you going to do? You know, and it happens. But I can tell you this is Fernando's hungry. He's hungry. He got a taste of the confetti. He's hungry. He wants to do it again. Right now, Mendoza, right now, a little clunky, but very catchable. He does throw a catchable ball. Those guys love catching balls from him. It's so smooth. So, listen to the 805 opinion. It's more of you don't think he's a bad player, but more of he has too many unknowns to justify some people's opinion that Mendoza is the easy answer. Patrick Mahomes almost took 0 snaps from under center during college career at Texas Tech, operating almost exclusively in the shotgun with an air raid offense. Exactly. I think that's a very good way of putting it. You'll never hear me say that he can't do certain things. It just creates question marks on my end, whether he was asked to do it or not. All right, 805, come on. Because I'm same way. But he has enough of what I've seen in total to be a franchise, I'm not saying he is, could be a franchise-changing quarterback. Okay, that's what I'm saying. He could be. And no disrespect to what you've done with your film review. There's just more out there in the ether, especially when you see it when you watch it live, because it kind of gives you that. I mean, you can watch it live on TV and then go back and watch a game film, and it's like, man, it looks totally different. It doesn't have the same vibe, right? Am I catching on to the vibe? Am I buying into the culture thing? Probably. Oh, well, that's what being a fan is, right? The one thing I'm not going to do is what I don't want people to do is I'll jump on 805's back because of what he does. He's a fan. Damn it. Let him do his thing. But we can have the cool thing about it is we can have a discussion about it and be fair about it. And salute an 805. Get you a cold, fresh 805 beer out of the refrigerator. Pop that top and enjoy. When I drink beer, I love the 805s. I can't drink. Ever since I had my gallbladder out, I cannot drink beer no more. He dissects a defense with RPO. That's it. His game doesn't show anything different in any volume. I question how well he can process a defense outside the RPO, which he will need in order to find success. Which is, if you go back to his first year, his redshirt freshman year at Cal, there was a lot of that involved in that. His second year at Cal, it changed a little bit. And then obviously he goes to Indiana and runs a predominantly RPO offense. But here's the thing, they taught him how to walk before he ran. So tapering it down to more of an RPO fundamental offense before exposing him to others. Now, also too, it might not be Fernando was the reason why they ran an RPO offense. It could be because maybe their offensive line didn't grasp the concepts of check plays. Have we ever thought about that? Maybe it's his running backs couldn't, because if you look at his running backs aren't really, there's no top 20 running back on that team. It was a travel by committee, him being in black, right? So you got to look at it from that perspective. Maybe it was the other guys on the team that forced them to be a predominantly RPO offense. And maybe he's that caged up lion that just wanted to get out and prove otherwise. So I'm sure tonight, you know what? I probably will call in tonight if you guys get that done. I don't know if you reached out to Jeff on how to figure out how to do it or not. It's kind of a tricky thing. I know with us, when we do it on Saturday nights, it's only a 2-man conversation. So the third guy on the guy on the screen can't communicate with the caller, but he can hear the caller. I know that there's a way to do it with a actual, not software, but an actual box that you have to, and then you have to like run a computer, like, and then you have to do all portion of it has to be on a separate platform. It can't be on the computer. That you don't bring it up on stage in the background. You bring it. It's like, and then when it rings, you just bring them up as a guest. Just be clear. Okay, now you're starting to sound like a politician, bro. I just want to be clear. I'm kidding. I'm just poking fun, man. Relax. This is just my evaluation of how I see things. And yes, and your evaluations are much greater than mine. I'm gonna tell you that. Your evaluations are much greater than mine, because some of the film, some of the stuff, I'm not saying this film, but other films that you have done, I see like, okay, I didn't see that. It makes sense. But there's also some things too, like I saw with Genty last year that I brought up that was like, dude, why ain't you covering that? Like, come on. It's there. It's like, I don't, and it had to do with this field vision in Broncos Monday night game, or the Monday night game against the Broncos. I saw some field vision stuff, and he left a lot of yards on the field that he did. Okay, so we're letting Leo set everything up, so hopefully it works. Yeah. Hopefully. We'll see. But yeah, just make sure that the how it works. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys. But I know the Saturday night show that we have is really good. Last week wasn't so good. We only had one caller. And I know we want to get other callers coming in and expand a little bit on that. But having said that, we're running at 2 hours, and so far we've had 4 people vote on this. Let me give you my take on this and who I would want and the reason why. And I can tell you this right now. There's only one guy on this list that I actually like, and that's Joe Burrow. He's the only one on this list that and I feel sorry for him, because he's with an organization much like ours that is not going to do. Now, I believe our organization has turned a corner on fixing this debacle of coaches and things like that, starting to put things into perspective and understanding, and I think in a roundabout way, some Raider fans are kind of looking forward to, like with Mark Davis, is like, how much longer is he going to have control of the team before he decides, I can't do it? We got to give it to the real people. Let somebody else buy this organization, take it to the next level. Because we're never going to have these right here, right there, isn't going to be the same. It's not. And it sucks because of who we are as Raider fans and where we come from. You know, your dads, your granddads, us. It's just not the same. And it sucks. But we're in Vegas now. We're not in Oakland no more. We ain't going back to Oakland ever again. And so be it. But the guy on this list that I most like is Tom Brady. Why? He did everything it took to win. Tom Brady would be 13 of 36 for 108 yards going into the fourth quarter, and then come out and go, look, you guys have done everything. I'm going to do my part. Let's go. Let's get in the huddle. Let's do this right. And he would, be that guy that help his team get to win the game. Now, some people, when they say that, whoa, Fernando, he's saying Fernando said he carried, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying Fernando threw the team on his back and carried him. That's not it. And to be quite honest with you, I don't want somebody in that position because that's where Joe Burrow is right now. Okay? Everybody's looking for him to be the one. Just like on our defense, everybody's looking to Max to be the guy to make the plays. It's like after the play, everybody turns and looks. Where's Max? Where's Max? I don't know. Where the hell were you? You're on defense. There's 10 other guys out here that can make plays. And that's why I say leadership comes in all different. Leadership isn't just one person. It's not just one person. It starts in the middle with your center, then to your quarterback, then to your tight end, and then maybe your left tackle. He's got leadership qualities because every situation is going to require a different leader. It can't be the same one over and over and over again in every situation. So in closing, what I like to say is you look for the guy that can close it out, win you championships. That's what I'm looking for. That's the type of player that I'm looking to build. That's who I want. And all the ingredients for Fernando Mendoza are there. That's what I'm talking about. The ingredients are there. There's no slide on Ty Simpson. I think I really think if Ty Simpson goes to the right situation in the NFL, he probably will have a better career than Fernando Mendoza. It's going to have to be the right situation because we could sit here and we can argue all we want about all this stuff, but it ain't until it comes down to the coach, the environment, and if that player can ascend in that environment and get better and better and better. That's the most important thing. That's what's going to get us back to commitment to excellence. Then once we get to commitment to excellence and we're year in and year out a factor in the NFL, we're no longer picking above 15 or 13 in the NFL. We're back towards the end. Okay. Then we could do trade backs all we want, get more picks. Because at that point, the best player is probably not on the board, or what the guy that's on the best player on the board is, let's say, a running back or a tight end, or we got the best left tackle in the NFL. We got the best center in the NFL. The next three guys are linemen. One of you guys want a lineman? Yeah, all right. Give me your next year's first round pick and a fifth round pick. Come get them. And I'll sit back because we're running hot over here in Las Vegas. Well, what we got already on our roster. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. But trading back is not always, that's the easy way out, but it's not always the right way. And you guys know that. Any of you guys that watch football long enough and been around long enough, just because you have it and you trade back, it doesn't mean it's going to be best. It was like earlier I talked about my car, and I would take $90,000 and I would sign a pink slip over right away. The hardest part about that is there's going to be a time I regretted that. Because no amount of money could replace what you had. We have the number one pick. We earned it. there's a quarterback there that some people say he's not the best. Some people say he's the best. The consensus, and if you took a poll on the consensus nationally, I guarantee you it's going to be 80 to 85%, if not 90% of the people are going to say you'd be stupid not to take Fernando Mendoza. And if he doesn't work out, I'll be quite honest with you. If he doesn't work out, it's because of the Raiders, not because of him. Jamarcus Russell failed because of him. We just happen to help the process along a little faster with our stupidity. But it was him. If other quarterback, if we drafted other quarterbacks in the same situation, they would have probably came in and thrived and did the best thing for this organization. But they would have left, seeing the writing on the wall. That's why if I was Joe Burrow, I wouldn't sign another contract extension with Cincinnati. Wouldn't. You either franchise me or let me go or trade me right now. And I would even be like, I'll give you $30, $40 million of my signing bonus back to trade me. Because it just ain't happening in Cincinnati with that guy. And Cincinnati's had winning teams in the past. They've had ebbs and flows of being championship contenders throughout the years. It's not like the Arizona Cardinals or your current Las Vegas Raiders. It's not like that. That right now what they're doing, how they're running that franchise, is like, good God, man, do that kid a favor, let him go. But how do you run a franchise when you got 3 players taking up almost 60% of your salary? It's kind of hard. You're paying 2 wide receivers top dollar and a quarterback top dollar. You ain't got a whole lot. And then you had Trey Hendrickson as well, sucking up a bunch of that salary cap. Kind of hard to build a complete team around them. When you can draft, but you still need to get some free agents to kind of fill and flow. Yeah, I've seen more Raider YouTuber hate Mendoza than regular fans. It's funny is I sent Duncan the link of a particular person that was hate, and all of a sudden he's doing a YouTube. It's like, is that Mendoza shirt that he's wearing? He's saying my quarterback's coming. I was like, oh my God. And that's what I'm talking about. Just tell the truth, man. That's all you got to do. Just tell the truth. Put your feet down with your convictions. That's why I respect the hell out of 805. He's convicted. And everybody can say whatever they want. He's convicted. But I also know he did his homework. He studied. He just didn't pass the test. Still got a good grade in class because he did all his homework. But just still got to pass the test. We might fail. Pro Mendoza guys, we might fail, right? So, but hey, we've hit this for 2 hours. Actually, we've been hitting this shit since January over Fernando Mendoza. Bottom line is, we're drafting Mendoza. Unless it is a sweet opportunity that you just can't pass up. And I'm not going to blame Spytech and company for going, you get 5 top 50 picks for one player, for one position. I am on it. I'm trading back. And me, myself, this is exactly how I'm going to go. I'm going, all right. Let's do this now. Let's do this. What's the plan? And if their plan is, we're going to roll with Kirk Cousins for the next 3 years. Oh, probably not good. Should probably have a better plan in place. I like the plan for this year. After this year, I don't know. And to be quite honest with you, the guys coming out next year in the draft, there's only like 2 or 3 of them that I really see being better options. And it's to be determined. You guys know that. It's to be determined. because I myself was rooting for Garrett Nussmeier this year. And you can call me a fool if you want, but if you saw him the year before at Louisiana State, you knew that kid had something and it was going somewhere. And then, and why did it though? Well, he had a pretty serious core injury at the beginning of the season. He tried to play through it, which is probably the dumbest thing that he should have done. It's like there's some injuries you go, dude, you got to shut it down because you're just either A, you're going to make it worse or you're never going to get better, period. But hey, 2 hours I've been on here. Once again, hit like, subscribe. If you don't like me, oh well. But at least give me a thumbs up that you hate me. He hate me. But let's have some fun with this, guys. Let's have some fun with this. Let's be honest with ourselves. We're in a position that we don't ever want to be in. We hardly ever in, and we don't want to be in again going down the road. Right? So until then, salute PNW Mark. Thanks for coming in. Donuts Duncan, thanks for coming in. Robert Pena, salute, man. Once again, keep in touch. Let me know what's going on. Kind of threw a little side cracker at my wife about the Bakersfield thing. And here's the deal. It's like today she'll say, oh, it's okay if you go. But tomorrow it's like, you better not go. I know I've been married to her for 31 years and I love her. But man, them little Latinas can be sassy sometimes, man. Good Lord. Pena 805. 805, thanks for coming in. You took it like a champ today. Appreciate it. I will try and hit you up tonight. Maybe you guys can throw a bunch of pins at me. Who knows? Just trust me, I've come across some pretty serious dudes in my life, and I'm sure you'll be just fine. There's definitely things I miss. Okay. If I've missed anybody in here, please don't hate me. Throw a chat in there. Throw it in the comments. Hey, man, you missed my chats or whatever. Deport. I'm in Bakersfield, but not from here. I'm in Bakersfield, but not from here. When it's in May. I think May 18th is when it is. I'm not sure. But yeah, I would love to go. But can't. I actually wanted to go to the draft more than anything, but I'm starting to bore you guys. Hey, thanks for you guys for coming in. I appreciate it. Hit like, subscribe, throw some comments in the chat. Or in the comment section. I will throw some shorts out there once this is done. And once again, next week, Pride and Poise. Love you guys, man.
Yeah, that's how we close it out. From the first take to the last word, yeah, you know we bring noise. Raiders run deep, that's that pride and that poise. Every take, every call, yeah, we gave it all. Raider Nation stand tall, never fade, never fall. Win, lose or draw, yeah, we riding the same. Silver and black heart, ain't no changing the game. So we out till next time, keep that fire alive. Pride and Poise, Pride touch, yeah, the nation gon' rise. Just win, baby.